Thanks for staying with us, everyone. Let's bring in Director General of the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau, NSIB, Captain Alex Bade Jr., on the agency's critical work in ensuring transport safety across air, rail, road, and maritime sectors. Beyond the headlines, Nigeria has witnessed several high-profile transport incidents, including tanker explosions and multiple fatal road crashes. And with May 29 around the corner, this edition focuses on accountability, explaining, or rather examining, for instance, how key government figures have delivered on their mandate. Captain Bade Jr., welcome to Beyond the Headlines.
Good evening, Ifemi, and thank you for having me once more.
All right, so let's begin with your remarks on the U.S. State Department's travel advisory that reportedly suggested that Nigerian airports are generally unsafe. It reportedly cited issues like poor perimeter fencing and wildlife intrusions. I have tried myself to get that report. I can't find it. The only thing online is your reaction to it, the fact that you disagreed with that assessment. Some have said you were merely playing down the severity of wildlife intrusions when you say it happens everywhere, including the U.S. How do you react to that?
I disagree with that. I wasn't playing up or playing to the gallery. I mean, that does not fully reflect the reality on ground in Nigeria. We do acknowledge the challenges of perimeter fencing, which the government, through the FAN, the Federal Airports Authority, is working to address through the Renewed Hope Fund. And, you know, there's occasional wildlife intrusions all around the world, even in the U.S. I mean, I gave examples of, 2017, in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is an even bigger airport than Nigeria. And there's videos, I mean, this happens routinely in the U.S. So to just say we are playing to the gallery or we're just being defensive, I think it's very unfair. I mean, these are issues, again, like I said, that are not unique to Nigeria or our airports. The most recent one in Asaba was addressed promptly by the NCAA. And typically these issues are addressed by the NCAA and FAN where applicable. As I said earlier, Asaba Airport was not run by the FAAN, but is a private run airport, and the NCAA were in touch with them. And as we know, nothing happened to the airplane. The passengers made their way to their destinations safe and sound. Nothing happened to the peace airplane. So, again, I will reject that assertion that the Nigerian airports are
I get you, Captain Bade, but what your critics are saying is that insinuating that this happens globally doesn't really reassure Nigerians. They're asking precisely what are we doing about it. For instance, I know you mentioned that you are going to make efforts to speak with the private owners, private entity managing the airport to discuss best practices. What have we done in that regard? We've written
a letter to them. We've sent off a letter, and I would like to follow up, by visiting at some point the airport operators and the management in the coming weeks, just to discuss with them further, face to face. But again, like I said, it's not this didn't even come to us. It stopped at the NCAA. They routinely handle smaller investigations, especially the non-fatal ones, like this one that happened.
All right, so we hope to be hearing about concrete steps. For instance, is NSIB taking what NSIB is doing with FAN to ensure that such vulnerabilities are fixed before they lead to a major disaster, and we're going to follow up quickly with that. But let's talk on the helicopter crash that involved Herbert Wigwe and the NTSB findings. You mentioned that NSIB was only an interested party and not a co-investigator. Does this expose a gap in our capacity to lead high-stakes aviation probes?
Oh, negative. This, again, is going by ICAO protocols. Remember, I think it's Chapter 5, Chapter 5 here and Section 27 that refers to our role in this accident. Because when it happens, it's a state of occurrence that first, wherever a crash happens, that airspace that occurs has primacy over the investigation. And after that, then you have the state of design, state of registration, state of design, state of manufacture of that airplane before you come to the interested parties. So if that crash happened in Nigeria, then we would have been the ones investigating, unless we ceded it to the NTSB or whoever. And if you remember most recently with the in-flight upsets of the United Airlines airplane, that happened over a Francophone African country. I don't want to guess, but you know, they didn't take the investigation. They were the states of occurrence, and they ceded it to the NTSB, and the NTSB handled that one. All we did was we came and we took the reports, and we were, you know, kept in the loop of what happened with that investigation.
Does NSIB
so again,
have the...
To answer your question.
Yes, but I just want to know, for clarity's sake, does NSIB have the expertise to independently investigate high-profile aviation accidents like that one?
Oh yes, again, we've been talking about this. You go on our website, it's all there. We've had the capability for some years now, and we've improved on that. And even in this year's budget, we have funds to improve, to take it to the next level. I mean, with the use of AI and everything. So yeah, we do. We did investigate the Herbert Wigwe one. We've put the prelim where we've sent up the engines to the manufacturer as well. You know, we even sent our investigators to go recreate that crash in the simulator. So we're investigating that actively. Like I said, we put out the preliminary investigation. The next thing, if we don't have a final within a year, we will put out an interim statement. But as it stands, we're investigating that. We've investigated successfully a lot of investigations. We put out a bunch of final reports at some point last year, and we have a few. We have about 7 right now awaiting final review with our investigators as well. So I will say that we are the premier accident investigation body right now in West Africa.
Under the 2022 Act, NSIB is now Nigeria's sole accident investigator across all transport modes. But some are saying we haven't seen major incidents like the Kaduna train derailment, you know, the Rivers tanker explosion, being followed up with public clarity on your bureau's findings. Can you confirm if the maritime and rail investigation frameworks, for instance, are fully operational? And how do you plan to ensure that stakeholders fully cooperate with the Bureau's authority in this regard?
We have developed the comprehensive investigation frameworks for both sectors at this time. The maritime investigation regulations, the training manuals, procedural policies are all done. In fact, this week, our investigators are proceeding to Lokoja and Lagos to begin the stakeholder engagement with the relevant bodies in the maritime space. The NRC as well, we're done with the regulation. We're working on procedure and policy manual and the training manual for that. We're almost done with that actually, and that should be done by the end of this month. Unfortunately, these things take time. You know, these are very bulky documents, and there are legal ramifications to that, and they cost a lot of money. Well, the money's not necessarily the issue, but it's the time, the man hours. But we've worked, you know, we've interfaced with the IMO as well on this, the International Maritime Organization, on the maritime one. And like I said, by the end of this month, we should be done with the initial stakeholder engagement, and we'll have a workshop where we'll invite the general public as well to have any input or final say on this document.
I hear you clearly, Captain Badi, but let us attempt to manage Nigeria's expectation of your bureau. Should they always expect a report on your findings anytime an accident occurs?
In a perfect world, yes, but there are certain smaller accidents that we can't be everywhere, which is why you have, you know, certain accident investigation responsibilities domiciled with the regulators. They do have smaller accident investigative bodies domiciled within them for, you know, minor accidents or incidents. But yes, we should be out there more, I must admit. You know, we've tried our best so far, but we should be out there more, just based on our multimodal mandate. Of course, there are bottlenecks with that. Again, as I've always stressed, cooperation with some agencies, and you know, we've worked on that. We've tried to interface with quite a few of them, and we've tried to go out on our own to investigate these things. But again, without these manuals, you know, we would be, I want to say, not flouting the law, but falling afoul of general best practices around the world.
Let's talk about what I consider the elephant in the room, Captain Badi. Tanker explosions. A government spokesperson sometime in February said that about 300 people died from 4 tanker explosions in just 4 months, from October last year to January this year. But it appears nobody is ever held accountable. What's happening? This year alone, 86 people were reportedly killed in Niger, 5 in Delta, and more than 150 in Jigawa as a result of tanker explosion. There's a research from the Nigerian Research Journal of Engineering and Environmental Sciences, and it says that we've had 168 fuel tanker accidents from 2009 and 2024, and that has led to more than 1,600 deaths. What are we doing about it?
Well, we have spoken with the Federal Road Safety at the NSIB. I mean, we did investigate the Jigawa incident of October last year. We were there at Niger as well this year. Unfortunately, a lot of the time, these accidents happen after we arrive. We investigate, we get there a day or two late, just the logistics of Nigeria. We've tried to streamline that to get there faster. But again, the road is the biggest, our biggest headache. I spoke to the Director General of the State Security Service to try to work, out a way to do that. But remember, our investigations at the NSIB are just to find the root causes and not a certain blame or blame anybody. So holding people accountable, unfortunately is, it's a judicial thing. It's not really the NSIB's job. But that notwithstanding, we are investigating tanker accidents. Unfortunately, we lack one critical tool, which is an event data recorder readout machine. It's kind of like a flight data recorder downloader. We are in the process of working with the BPP to get necessary approvals for that, so that we can purchase these things from the OEM. But it's a very expensive venture, especially if we're going to do that. We're going to have to do that to equip at least every local government, the road safety or whoever there. We can't be everywhere, so we have to work with the road safety on the roads. But that's going to have to be at every local. So, I mean, you're talking 774 local governments, with EDR, so we can get that download capability from these trucks, because most trucks built from 2015 and cars and up actually have chips in there that are downloadable. So once we get that capability at the NSIB, we will be able to download all these things. But again, this is all based on funding. We're going to start small. We have a couple of samples right now at our lab that we're trialing out, and we're training a few of our investigators right now with that equipment. So I will just beg Nigerians to be a little patient with us at the NSIB. We're growing as fast as we can, just with our environment and.
But do you think you're publishing enough reports commensurate to the frequency of these incidents, at least the ones you've investigated? How do we get them?
They're on our website. They typically are published here. At least the preliminary investigations are on the nsib.gov.ng. I'll be sure to go look into that, but I know we have a bunch of reports up there. If like the ones we investigated in Niger and Jigawa aren't on, I will make sure they're on there by tomorrow.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to that. But you took office with a vision to shift NSIB from just reacting to these accidents, but to become proactive with interventions. What have you achieved in that regard in the past almost 2 years?
The first thing is we've had to prioritize training at the NSIB. I mean, for the first time since I took over, the first time in the history of the NSIB, we've had all 330 employees at the NSIB, not just investigators, being trained. Excuse me. This year we're working on actually cross-training some of our investigators from, because we're unfortunately admin heavy and fewer on the investigative side. So it's supposed to hire new people, with such a small budget. We're training, people with relevant experience or education that we think could work in other parts of investigation, just to reduce the burden on our investigators. Also, just getting our investigators up to speed. I mean, we have pilots, commercial pilots licenses at the NSIB, but they don't have, that real world experience, which is what you need to actually investigate. So we've signed MOUs with aero contractors, Rano Air, and we have them training with them at this time. Also with our MOUs with Nigerian Navy and the Air Force as well. We're working with them closely, especially the Nigerian Navy now. We're in talks to get more training from the Navy. And, we're just pushing forth that way to get our people up to speed. And that's the only way to do what we intend to do at the NSIB, to be more proactive. You know, you must invest in the people first. So that's what we're doing. Of course, working with data, like I said, I personally, I use a lot of AI. I push my people as well, just to speed things up, at the NSIB, because you can comb through a lot of data quicker, using, AI than just doing it on your own. I'm able to feed things in there, and it analyzes and tells me and gives us a better view. So we're working on that. Like I said, if you see, we published a lot of reports last year. Those reports were sitting there. We published, I think, 11 or 13 last year.
Yeah.
Final air reports, we have 7 that are on their way out now. So,
Captain Bade, we have to go now. Good place to leave it. We're counting down to May 29. We wish you all the best in all of your endeavors at the NSIB. Director General, Nigeria Safety Investigation Bureau, Captain Alex Bade Jr.
All right, Femi, thank you very much.
We're back tomorrow. As we count down to May 29, we'll be joined for an exclusive sit-down with the Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, as we